It is 2001 in Moscow. I finished medical school and I work at American Hospital, and I love my job. But after a long 24-hour shift, I am tired. My hair is a complete mess. I'm finishing my medical records and I just want to go home. I see a new patient walking in with a nurse, and a very strange and quite unusual thought crosses my mind. I just wish it was a better hair day. He is cute. The patient was an American exchange student who had appendicitis, and after surgery was transferred to our hospital. I admitted him and I went home. Getting ready for my next shift at home, I pass by the TV as I'm getting ready and I see one of the Twin Towers on fire. I first thought it was a bad movie, but as I was turning the sound up, the second tower got attacked right in front of my eyes. In complete shock, I started calling for my mom to come from the kitchen quickly, and I picked up the phone. I called the hospital, and I said, "We have an American patient. Someone needs to go there and tell him what happened. Someone has to turn on the news and translate." The American embassy was taking precautionary measures, putting American facilities on lockdown. For the next 2 days, all of us in the hospital, doctors, nurses, patients, were sitting all together and watching the news over and over, still in complete disbelief and grief over what happened. And this was very much of a bonding experience. The lockdown was lifted. We have discharged our American patient. 3 days later, he came back and asked me out. I said yes. Fast forward 2.5 years later, we are married, living in Arizona. My husband found it hard to fit in Russia, so I left my career, my friends, and everything I knew back home. And I arrived to US bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with a $500 in my pocket. I had no work authorization, and he was working at Youth at Risk Shelter, making $8 an hour. We had to find the means to survive. So I got my first job as a vacuum cleaner sales girl. I got fired a week later because not only I didn't sell a single vacuum cleaner, I also convinced a customer not to buy one because they were very expensive. I got my driver's license and I worked as a part-time truck driver. I was teaching piano and kickboxing. And we were barely making our ends meet. I remember standing in the middle of Walmart with a calculator in my hand, counting if I could afford a pair of $2 underwear that month, and I could not. But it was okay. I was in love, and I kept telling myself it is an adventure. But aside from that, it was difficult to connect to people around me. Making friends was hard. I quickly learned all the basic stereotypes when it comes to Russian people. Do you drink vodka? Do you like Putin? At one of the job interviews, I was asked if I was a mail order bride. Aside from that, people constantly commented on my accent, at best calling it cute when I was trying to be serious. Meanwhile, social media didn't exist, and I lost touch with most of my friends back home. But I wasn't ready to quit and go back, perhaps because the lack of belonging wasn't entirely new feeling for me, as I never quite felt that I belong in Moscow either. My skin is too dark for a Russian. My eyes and my hair too. And even in my own family, my older sister is a blonde with blue eyes. When I was a child, an after-school teacher told me that I cannot play with other kids. She said blacks shouldn't play with normal children. In my early 20s, I was arrested on the street multiple times simply for not carrying a passport on me. to prove that I was indeed a Russian citizen. What didn't help with fitting in here was that my husband happened to be a jealous and controlling person. We fell in love quickly, but getting to know each other over the years made me realize how different we really were, and I started feeling that perhaps I don't belong in my marriage either. But things definitely got better in time. I finally got permission to work, and I found a research job at Georgetown. I also got accepted to start schooling at Georgetown, and I was very proud. With my first paycheck, standing in the middle of a grocery store, understanding that within reason I could buy what I wanted was an amazing feeling. I also left my marriage, but that cut my social circle to one person outside of work. I long for the familiarity of places and people I left back home. I used to have a really large social circle, and even in a 12 million people city, I would often bump into people I knew unexpectedly. And here, everything was new and everything was foreign. Until one day, I remember standing in my office and looking out of the window, and I saw a person, and I realized that I knew her. She was no one special, and yet I got completely overwhelmed with joy because for the first time since I left home, I recognized somebody on the street. And for the first time, I got a hint of belonging. Years went by. I eventually met the love of my life, and we are married now. I have moved 18 times in 20 years. But everywhere I go, I just try to be a person that makes you feel like you belong. Because you just never know how much it can mean to someone to just recognize you on the street. Thank you.